Which of those early records were a failure like you?
Well, early on, it wasn't so much the albums. It was, but record companies are all, at that time, and probably still to this day, are all about we've got to get your song on the radio. Mm-hmm. So my songs are not very, mostly they're too long, and even the ones that are short are miserable. They're not happy songs. So, in a sense, there was pressure to come up with radio songs. And there was a few songs. My very first band that I ever had a record deal with was a band called No Man, and we definitely tried to go into the studio to write pop songs that we didn't believe in. Mm. I'm not very proud of those.
That's long behind you.
It's hopefully long behind me.
Yeah. With art being a selfish act, in the process of writing your music, is there any interference or maybe a piece of music that you let somebody listen to and maybe listen to what they have to say about it, or is it just you and only you that it's focused on the music?
More the latter. But the thing is, because this is a solo record, so there's a lot of other people involved in the record. There's other musicians that are on the tracks, and when you work with other musicians, you do get feedback and you do get more insight into it. So yeah, I am listening to what those musicians will say, but I'm not going to play it to my to my mum. I'm not going to play it to my friends or people. Not that I don't respect their opinion, but I just think that everyone has their own agenda. Everyone has their own taste. You can't go out, you can't find a way to please everyone. In fact, it's very hard to please even a small group of people. Anyone that can do it has really achieved something. To make other people want to listen to your music at all is an achievement in itself. I've also been doing this long enough now to think that I have my own sense of inbuilt kind of quality control. I do, for every song I release, I write probably two that I don't, the two that didn't quite work for me. It's the ones that give me the buzz, that make the hair stand on my, and I don't know where they come from, but that's the feeling I'm looking for. And at that point, I guess I'm arrogant enough to believe that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, I know it's good. I don't believe that Picasso was showing his paintings to me and saying, do you think this is any good? He didn't. That's an artist, that's someone who just paints exactly, this is for me, I believe in it. And I think I have a sense of that. It sounds very arrogant to say it, but I think there is something, like I said, inherently selfish and perhaps a little bit arrogant about being an artist, that you believe this is special. This is a true kind of creative reflection of your personality and your psyche. And if other people don't like it, it's kind of their problem,
Music being a reflection of you. If you're looking back to your own music, is it really, maybe also to all the music, is it still a representation of who you were back then, or?
Yeah, I think that's the funny thing about making music is it's almost like taking photographs of yourself, And when you look back at a photograph of yourself 10 years ago, you cringe with embarrassment, don't you? The hairstyle, the clothes. And I think I have the same relationship with the albums. Some of them I look back at and I'm embarrassed by, not because it's bad music, but just because it's not who I am now. And it's like looking at a kind of alien version of yourself. And then a funny thing happens, which is that music suddenly becomes far enough away from you in the past that you can actually approach it almost more objectively. And it's the very early music now I can kind of listen to and appreciate a little bit. It's the music from more recently that I struggle to listen to, like maybe 5-6 years ago, because of how much I've changed. There's still enough of me that I recognise in it that I'm embarrassed enough about it to not be able to listen to it. Whereas the music from before that is so distant to me now and so removed from me now that I can be objective about it. And of course every artist will also tell you that whatever they're doing now is the best thing they've ever done. And I'm no different, I always feel the best thing I'm doing now is now, yeah.
other art forms, do they also find its way into your music or music in general for you?
Yeah, movies have always been particularly a big inspiration to me. In fact, when people ask me now today what your influence is, I say, well, film. You know, it's not so much music now as it is film, and the two for me are very closely connected. I suppose rock music and filmmaking are the two, truly modern art forms, in the sense they've only been around for a relatively short period of time, and they've kind of grown up together in a way. And I always think about, even when I'm writing the songs and I've just written a new song and I've demoed a new song, I'm already thinking about the visual side of it. And I'm very fortunate to be able to work very closely with a filmmaker and photographer called Lasse Hoyle, a Danish guy. And I get Lasse involved right at the beginning. So I'm sending him the new tracks. So he's a guy that I would take some, comment from. So I'll send Lasse the tracks and I'll say, here's a new track, what do you think? You got any ideas for images? And he'll always come back with some ideas. And we begin to develop then, even at that early stage, we begin to develop a sense of how the album will be presented visually, video for some of the songs, how the live show will be presented. So for me, that all comes from our mutual interest in movies. He's a filmmaker that's fascinated also by music. I'm a musician that's also fascinated by film. So we kind of have a very symbiotic relationship thing going on there.
Does it also work sometimes maybe the other way around, that you have a visual in your head and that the music flows out of that image you have? Or?
Very much so, yes. In fact, to the extent a few years ago I actually wrote a movie script which then became an album, but the movie script never got made. But that was an album called Deadwing I did with Porcupine Tree, and that movie script was the starting point. So the idea that I was going to make a movie with a friend of mine, we wrote it together, he was going to direct it, was the first thing. And the second thing was, well, we've written the script now, maybe I should use it as the basis of the next album, which is what happened. So that was really interesting, taking some of the situations and some of the characters from the film script that no one had seen and trying to write songs about characters that no one was going to see. And so that was kind of hard in a way, because when I was talking about that record, I was talking about a movie script that no one had read and no one had seen. So it was kind of a little bit obscure for some people. But that's happened also on this record. There's a song called Belle de Jour, which is based on a film from the 60s by a director called Louis Buñuel, and a very surreal film. And I bought it recently again on Blu-ray and was blown away with it, and I wrote the song inspired by that, as opposed to being inspired by music, so inspired by film. Yeah.